This is the Calculus Pre-Lecture Series. I'm Brandon Ashley, and this video is on the derivatives of trigonometric functions. So we want to be able to calculate derivatives of functions like sine or cosine of x. And to do this, we're going to use the definition of the derivative. So the derivative is given by the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And here, since our function f of x is just cosine x, all we have to do is plug in cosine for this formula. And so we'll have the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h will become cosine of x plus h minus f of x, which is just cosine x, all over h. And then we can split up this cosine x plus h using the sum formula for cosine, so that we have the limit as h goes to 0 of cosine x times cosine h minus sine x times sine h minus cosine x all over h. And then we can group our cosine x pieces together so that we have the limit as h goes to 0 of cosine x times cosine h minus, if I pull out a cosine on this piece, I'll have minus 1. So I get cosine h minus 1 minus sine x times sine h all over h. And then if we look at this limit, I have the limit as h goes to 0 of cosine h, but the limit as cosine h goes to 0 is just 1. And then I have 1 minus 1, which is just 0. So this whole first term here goes away. And then we're left with the limit as h goes to 0 of minus sine x times sine h all over h. And sine x doesn't have any h's in it, so I can pull that out. And I'll have negative sine x times the limit as h goes to 0 of sine h over h. And then you might recognize the limit as h goes to 0 of sine h over h is just 1. So finally, we have just minus sine x as the derivative of cosine x. So we'll write d by dx of cosine x is equal to minus sine x. And similarly, we can show that the derivative of sine x is equal to cosine x. And once we know the derivatives of sine and cosine, we can find the derivatives of all of the other trig functions using quotient properties of derivatives. And so, for example, the derivative of tangent x would be secant squared of x, or the derivative of secant x would be secant x times tangent x, and so on.